Well, Jeff, the news has focused a lot on the political landscape, but in 2025, it's fair to say that that means that there still is lots of tech involved.
Yeah, no doubt. So, like in your home province, in reaction to the Trump tariffs, in addition to taking American booze off the shelf, Premier Ford has ripped up a contract between Ontario and Elon Musk's Starlink.
This was a $100 million contract, and that was to provide Starlink to communities in Northern Ontario. This makes total sense to me, Jeff, because the reality is, I think even beyond these tariffs, I wouldn't necessarily trust doing a deal right now with one of Elon Musk's companies, but it is also unfortunate for those communities who potentially now won't have access to Starlink.
Absolutely. I think we have to be a little bit smart about looking towards the future and what the decisions we make now that are going to impact that. And I certainly wouldn't be getting any more involved with anything Elon Musk has anything to do with at this point. So, yeah, it does sort of suck for those families who aren't going to get the satellite internet there, but it's probably a wise idea. And I mean, especially speaking of Starlink, according to Rolling Stone, employees at the Federal Aviation Administration were recently told to begin finding tens of millions of dollars for a Starlink deal.
This is an unbelievable headline, and this is probably one of the things that I think is the most worrisome in terms of Elon Musk's role in the U.S. government. The fact that, of course, he has a vested interest in so many of these deals, and this is just one really good example. So I think this is something that you're going to talk about a little bit later in the Other Mac segment, but it is fair to say that we're seeing a lot of red flags that look like this.
Yeah, I just don't think it passes the smell test at all. Plus, the FAA actually already has a $2.4 billion contract with Verizon. And so everything is happening so quickly, it's just not clear if that'll go to Musk's company or what will happen, but it all certainly seems pretty fishy.
Okay, so we've talked about ditching Verizon, ditching Starlink, and now we're talking about ditching remote work, at least at Google. Turns out one of Google's co-founders is saying in order to really compete in this AI race right now, he is looking to the employees at Google to work in some cases 60 hours a week or more. What do you think of this?
Yeah, well, on the coming back into work thing, I got to say, I never thought that your average person likely gets as much done at home as they would at the office, and reasonable people can disagree on that. But when you're suggesting that not only do people come back to the office, which is fair, but hey, why don't you also consider working 60 hours a week, 12 hours a day over 5 days? Uh, that's pretty rich coming from somebody who, again, is obviously so invested in trying to accomplish something themselves that it's unclear how it's gonna help those workers. But certainly for the billionaire who wants to be the one to make the next big AI breakthrough, I'm sure it makes sense.
Well, I think we should have a discussion, or maybe it's a debate on working from home, because this has been in the headlines over the past few years, and there are various arguments for working from home versus going into the office, and certainly a lot of data support that to support that. This is probably also a great segue to your segment, The Other Mac, where you're going to talk about whether or not government should steer clear of crypto. That's up next.